We spend an enormous amount of energy trying to feel complete. For most of us, that search defaults to two main paths: accumulating wealth to secure our physical comfort, or gathering endless academic knowledge to satisfy our intellect. When those paths leave us hollow, we often pivot to spiritual practices. But even then, we tend to treat spirituality as an athletic or technical pursuit. Look at this figure. You can achieve perfect mechanical precision in your postures, breathing, and meditation routines, all executed in an entirely sterile, isolated environment. There is a deep irony hidden in that kind of rigid effort. In Sanskrit, the word yoga translates exactly to unify, yet applying all that physical and mental strain without a specific, vital, emotional ingredient is the equivalent of trying to cultivate crops in a dry desert. Treating your spiritual life like a mechanical checklist or an intellectual puzzle doesn't bring you closer to the universe. It guarantees that you remain entirely isolated inside your own head. Ancient seekers understood this problem. There is a well-documented story of a devotee named Narada who traveled relentlessly from place to place. His entire goal was to distribute the sheer bliss he found in his own spiritual practice to anyone who would listen. Narada started his inquiry with a premise that scholars and philosophers had already agreed upon for centuries. The supreme operative cosmic principle, the divine, is fully omniscient, and it exists everywhere at all times. But Narada noticed a glaring contradiction. If this presence is literally occupying every inch of the universe, why do the vast majority of people walk around completely numb to it? So Narada posed a direct question to the divine. Where is the specific place that your presence can actually be felt? Or what is the single location you consider dearest? Finding the answer to Narada's question is the mandatory first step if we want to solve the persistent emptiness of modern spiritual routines. The Lord's reply to Narada starts by clearing away our misconceptions. The divine explicitly debunks the idea that it is hiding out in some distant, untouchable seventh heaven, watching us from above. It also immediately disqualifies human minds that are constrained by narrow limitations. If a mind is entirely locked into rigid ideologies, strict dogmas, or hyper-specific isms, the divine cannot make a home there. The core obstacle blocking us is a concept called asakti. As we see in this diagram, asakti is defined as the intense attraction to limited, worldly objects. It is the gravitational pull of drawing small, isolated objects inward toward yourself. This model shows the exact mechanics of asakti at play. It operates entirely on the selfish desire to get or possess something external. When you acquire those objects, you build a thick, rigid wall around yourself to protect what you have collected. There is absolutely zero compatibility between asakti and the presence of the divine. They cannot share the same physical or mental space. Worldly desire and the divine exist in a state of strict mutual exclusivity. They are like the sun and the night. The arrival of one demands the immediate exit of the other. Our search for connection fails because the sheer mechanics of acquiring things structurally block the supreme from entering our consciousness. The walls we build to hold our worldly desires leave no room for anything else. The exact opposite of asakti is bhakti. Bhakti is the direct attraction to the limitless supreme, rather than to small, temporary objects. Looking at this contrasting model, we can see how bhakti works. It completely abandons the goal of acquiring objects. Instead, it focuses on dissolving the rigid borders of the self, allowing the individual to expand and merge entirely into the infinite background. The ancient texts connect this dissolving action to the Sanskrit word nara. Nara carries a dual meaning. It translates to both water and devotion. The language itself treats the two concepts as intertwined. Watch this sequence. This specific water acts as the sole catalyst capable of changing the landscape. When the water of devotion flushes through the barren crevices of those dry, highly technical yoga routines, the environment suddenly comes alive. Without devotion acting as that unifying water, every hour of physical strain and mental conditioning remains sterile. The effort produces nothing. We still have to deal with the intellect. In Sanskrit, intellectual scholarship is called jnana. We prize it highly, But in the spiritual journey, its utility is severely limited. To accurately rank the importance of intellect, physical action, and devotion, we can use the straightforward metaphor of eating a meal. In this diagram, intellectual knowledge, jnana, is the square container. It is the disposable paper wrapper holding the food you will eat. The food inside represents physical action, or karma. But the crucial element, devotion, or bhakti, is the actual taste and the nourishment your body absorbs. Intellectual knowledge is useful only up to the exact moment devotion is born. Once you have tasted the food and absorbed its essence, that wrapper of intellect has done its job, and you throw the dirty paper in the dustbin. This brings us back to Narada's original mystery. Where is the specific location that the divine considers dearest? The divine resides exclusively within minds that have stripped away all narrowness. It lives in the exact space where worldly desire has been entirely evicted and replaced by a pure, sincere heart. When a person reaches this state, you can see the outward symptom. Like this expanding light, the devotee loses their appetite for normal worldly enjoyments. They are driven entirely by an urge to push outward and share their internal bliss with everyone around them. Ultimate wisdom does not come from memorizing the most texts or performing the most rigorous postures. It comes from abandoning the wrapper of intellect entirely and allowing yourself to become a living vessel for devotion.